still like your hat, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It was a gift from a friend.
Looks like a kufi.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was at first, yeah.
Gives you a real spiritual vibe.
This is yours. Can you plug, this in one and this one in the other? And this goes in one and that goes in the other.
Okay, everybody should be able to hear me now, right?
Go again?
You should be able to hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, good. Are you ready to start, Miles?
I'm good. The switch is already down, though. Do I flip it up?
Yeah, when I give you the cue.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Step one, throw the switch up. Tell me if the light goes on.
The light went on.
Okay, now put that clapper in front of your face. When you hit the clapper, you are on the air.
You guys ready? All right, we're on the air. All right, so this is our next Facebook Live session. I think it's imperative that we get together and we start talking about some of the stuff that's going on, specifically the fact that it is the middle of primary season. So early voting just started on June 12th, and it runs up until June 20th. And then we have the Democratic primary that comes on the 22nd. So something unusual is happening this year that doesn't usually happen every other year, specifically for a local election, is that there is an actual primary. Typically, with the Democratic committee and the Republican committee, they essentially align their powers before a primary takes place. They nominate who their candidate's going to be, and then you see the unity of the power get together and start pushing those candidates out to everybody, right? So with a few key races this year, there's actually a primary, and that's happening in the mayoral race. You have 3 candidates that are running in the Democratic primary for the mayoral race. It's happening for several different Erie County legislators. There's a primary for the judges as well. I believe we have 3 city court judges open, and there's 4 people that are vying for those positions, right? And then I'm currently in the primary. I'm running for Erie County Sheriff, and I'm in the primary against 2 other Democrats that are currently running for the sheriff's department. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you ever even vote in a primary outside do you vote in a primary? Why is this a new topic for everybody?
For me, the only primary that I could remember voting for is the presidential one, this last one. And part of that is my age.
How old are you?
22.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but I like you said, when it comes to the mayoral race, I can't remember there even being much of a primary in most of my life. So
no, I don't even know who ran against Mayor Brown, if anybody ran against him in 2017.
Schroeder.
In the primary, was it?
I think Mark Schroeder did run against him in the primary. And I don't remember what year it was, but Bernie Tolbert ran against Sheriff Howard.
That was the last election.
Yeah.
Right, and he lost by a small margin is what I was told, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't even in the primary. That was a general election, right? So yeah, that was a general election because Tolbert ran as a Democrat and Howard is a continuous Republican, right?
Yeah.
So with Tolbert, I think he lost by a little over 1,000 votes or something like that in the general election, which was kind of an upset. But again, you had one career police officer running against an incumbent sheriff. So, I don't think that they had the ability to really energize a base of progressives or even black people for that matter, to come out and vote for him, because it was severely lacking from what I understand, like an actual progressive policy position, which is what we need in law enforcement. What about you, Akram?
Man, speaking of primaries, well, for me personally, ideologically, I'm an independent, I feel. I don't really feel like party allegiance, party alliance is the wisest thing in a democracy. I think we should vote for people based on their merits. But at the end of the day, if you don't participate in primaries, you're not really making a choice. The Democrats pick their people, the Republicans pick their people, and then it's all about who motivates more of their party to get out and vote. So for that reason and that reason alone, I did register as Democrat, and I voted in my first primary in the last presidential election. So
this one that just passed?
Right, yeah.
So me and you are like the same age, and this is your first time voting in a primary?
Okay, I'm 3 years younger than you. Okay, don't age me. But yeah, it is my first time voting in a primary. I tried to actually 4 years prior. I was uncomfortable with changing my party allegiance. I wanted to stay independent to the last breath.
Right.
But yeah, I realized that, look, at the end of the day, your voice kind of only counts in the primaries. That's when you can really choose between a progressive candidate or the status quo. So yeah, it was my first primary last time around. And I'll be real with you, this is my first real involvement in a local election. You really inspired me to think about who is running our local municipalities, who's running our local offices.
Right.
We always think about the presidential election as being this big, we're going to change.
It's called big and cool and sexy. We got to
Exactly.
make change here, right? Yeah.
But you really drilled the point, especially as I saw you leading rallies last year, that we need to be active in our local elections because that's where our lives are most directly impacted. So yeah, this will be my first local primary election.
Right. I don't know. I don't think Marcus. I don't know. Have you voted before, Marcus?
No, this will be my first go around.
Right.
First vote ever?
First vote ever.
Oh wow.
I never wanted to get summoned for jury duty, so.
Right. I made him register to vote last month.
Wait, so that's how they get you on your voter registration?
Yep, on your voter.
No.
Someone else kind of gave me that nudge though. But if you do want to see change in your community, you got to start local. So.
That's true.
Hopefully we get some good candidates this go around because every vote does matter.
Well, I mean, the candidates are already out there right now. So, have you been paying attention to any other election outside of the sheriff's election?
Yeah.
No shade. Let's avoid shade right now, unless it's against one of the sheriff opponents.
I'm gonna keep some of my comments to myself. I don't really want to put it out there who I'm voting for.
Okay.
It's pretty much locked in.
All right.
Let's go, Mayor Brown.
What?
Yeah.
You're going for Mayor Brown this go around?
For Mayor Brown.
Why is that?
I like what he's doing right now. He's trying to change it, but he does need more help. I feel like that's where the other elections come in at. If you get other people in good positions, then change could happen.
For all our viewers, I did not know he was going to say that. This is our first time having this conversation. You guys know, and you've been watching my feeds, my personal opinion about Mayor Brown and the work that he's done. But, fortunately for me, I don't have an opportunity to vote for him because I don't live within the city limits. So okay. You're gonna participate in this primary too, though, right? So
yeah.
you're voting this week. You're gonna vote on the 22nd.
I'm gonna vote tomorrow.
You're gonna vote tomorrow. All right. You got your ballot all lined up. You know who you're gonna vote for.
I know who I'm voting for.
Or what are some of the issues that were at the forefront of your mind, like when you're thinking about voting this year?
It's really like who's going to really change the community. 'Cause like right now, just being ran by a bunch of white people, and that's really not going to help the urban community at all. So whoever has, in my opinions, I don't want to say who else I'm voting for, but whoever reached my goals, that's who I picked to vote for.
Right. So like when you're thinking about, are you thinking about police brutality? Are you thinking about criminal justice reform? Are you thinking about equal spending in your neighborhoods? Like, are those the things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, because the neighborhoods could be better. I mean, they're getting better, but it definitely needs more help.
More help.
And you don't see no white people in the hood, so.
Not yet. Not until gentrification starts happening.
Well, I mean, as far as like office-wise, you
Right.
don't really see nobody coming to like really visit, see what it looks like or how it's going.
Has any politicians knocked on your door at all?
Nah, bro.
Nobody came over. Can you sign my petition? Or are you
No.
registered to vote? None of that?
Nobody had none of the addresses. Nobody came and knocked.
What about any mailers? You receive anything in the mail? Talking about who's running for office?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing. So thank God we got the internet though.
Right.
Great tool.
Right. But I mean, like, everybody else is receiving mailers and stuff in the mail, like, you know what I mean, specifically for like the mayoral race and stuff like that. So I would wonder if like maybe they're just not seeing your demographic as like important to target because of low voter turnout or whatever it is. That's interesting. What about you? What are you seeing? Like, it's like, did you vote already?
Oh no, I haven't voted already. I am going to vote on the 22nd because as far as like the judges and the mayoral race, I need a little time. I need to do my research.
You need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm excited about that. Like the fact that I have options.
Come on.
Super, super cool because I remember like years where I didn't. And when it comes to what you said about people knocking on doors and like getting mail and things like that, we get mail at my house because I have 2 registered Democrats who are like above the age of 40, right?
Okay.
But if I lived alone,
So they're prime voters.
right, and it's for them. Like it always says their name. It never, ever says my name.
Right.
Right. Even though I've been a registered Democrat since I was technically 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm like you, I'm a registered Democrat, so I could participate in the primary.
Right.
But I feel like I identify more with being an independent.
Right.
But I live in New York State, so.
That's like a lot of us. Like, that's the same thing with me. Even like, you know, my campaign, you know, the fact that I'm running for sheriff is I'm a law enforcement outsider.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The fact that I'm running for sheriff and I'm black and I'm Muslim and I'm 31, now I'm running against the party. Right. So then it's like, you know, I'm a party outsider as well, you know, and it's like that's kind of how it's been set up is like you need to kind of, you know, be in it to get with it, you know, if you will. And they already selected who they wanted to be their sheriff. Brian Gould, who's the Democratic nominee, and he was selected, you know, back in like probably like August. And it's been a push to just keep everybody else out of the race since then so they can kind of run and unify the party behind him, you know what I mean? To the fact that where my other opponent says that she was discriminated against, right? And I know for a fact that I was discriminated against by the Democratic Party, to the fact where I was not qualified for the position, even though I meet the requirements, which is 18 years old and county resident, right? Which means I am duly qualified to run for Erie County Sheriff, you know what I mean? But not qualified for it, right? But I think that that's just another way to say that, you know, they wanted a white person to run for that position. And I think it specifically was because Bernie Tolbert didn't turn out the vote, you know, in the last election. So they figure maybe that a black person cannot turn it out.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think part of the reason why Bernie Tolbert didn't pull out the vote is because he didn't target younger people and specifically like go hard for the Buffalo area.
Right.
So it's doable. It's very much doable. Like you just have to put in the work for it.
Right. Well, like you're saying, like the Democrats, it's just like as if they seem like they don't care about people that are under the age of 40.
Right.
Which is why they lose so damn often. Right. Because then it's when people like myself, who is a more progressive candidate that comes out that is under the age of 40, that's pulling people out of their houses that are under 40 to vote. And it's like, and then this is what I'm faced with at the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? And I'm bringing these people out to vote on this party line where my name will be. You know, I think that, you know, there should be more of an effort to not exclude people, you know, from the process. And I think that that's actively what's going on in a lot of the cases. And it's like I haven't been paying too close attention to the Republican side of the House as far as their primaries go. But Republicans, like even here, they're not used to primaries either. So it's like, from what I hear, it's like a bloodbath over there. They're just they're just slinging back and forth. And it's just like, fortunately, we live closer to the city limits, so we get to stay out of a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I know that like you can see like the everybody's always like, oh, where are your lawn signs at? I see Garcia's lawn signs everywhere. Like, I'm not worried about Garcia right now. He's running the Republican primary, right? But yeah, so it's an interesting battle over there as well. Wow. But yeah, were you going to say something, Akram?
No, I'm just like thinking like how exciting it is to have this much, I don't know, action, I guess you'd say, in the primaries. I feel like that is an indication that there is going to be real change, hopefully. Yeah, I got a question for you, and it may seem like a dumb question, but I know that this is on a lot of people's minds.
Right.
What does a sheriff actually do? Like, no, because people have this impression of a sheriff as like, just like another cop, but like, at the maybe more at the top of the totem pole, more authority. Like, but what is the role of a sheriff in the community?
Right. Well, I mean, the sheriff is a policy-making elected position, right? So when it comes to the sheriff, his responsibility includes oversight and management of the jails, and there's also oversight and management of a jail medical budget, and then there's oversight and management of the sheriff police services or sheriff deputy services, right? And those sheriff deputy services include investigations. They include courthouse services, so things, the county court. Even the RAF building is policed by the sheriff, and then or secured by the sheriff, I should say, really. And then also there is a deputy patrol force as well. That deputy patrol force typically handles patrol services in communities that don't have their own municipal police, right? So you're thinking of areas like Clarence, Grand Island. Those places will have sheriff's offices and active deputies patrolling their neighborhoods as opposed to local police forces. So like that's really the sheriff's umbrella of responsibility, right? And the sheriff is responsible for leading that charge and also ensuring safety in the community.
So are you going to be riding around in a wagon and like pulling people over too and that sort of thing?
No, I won't.
I have to ask.
I'll definitely ride around, right? But my job as a sheriff is not going to be pulling people over, right? And that's not really the focus either, right? A huge part of it is making sure that we have accountability in the jails, making sure that we have safety in the jails, right? And making sure the patrol force is diverse and functioning like it's supposed to be. Like there's quite a few issues that exist within the Erie County Sheriff's Department, right? And I sound like a broken record because I know everybody on Facebook at least has heard me say this stuff over and over again, but we have a $126 million budget. $100 million of that, $96 million to be exact, is going towards our county jails, right? And then you're dealing with, it's a $12 million medical budget, and we don't have adequate medical care for the people that are detained in the Erie County jails, to the point where there's medical neglect occurring quite frequently. Broken hands going untreated. In the case of India Cummings, her death was ruled a homicide by medical neglect, right? Yeah. And then you have $84 million going towards the operation of 2 facilities. You're talking about housing about 600 to 650 people on average per day, right? So when you do the math, you're looking at roughly $160,000 to $200,000 a year that's being spent on per inmate in the jails, right? So a huge part of the sheriff's responsibility, at least what it should be, right, is ensuring that we have those proper programs in place to make sure that we're working on rehabilitating those people that are in jail and restoring them to the community, as opposed to releasing people that have been caged like animals back into the community, which is essentially the what has been done, right? And to ensure that we have proper drug treatment programs in place, to make sure that we're connecting people to proper social services programs prior to leaving it, and essentially just proper services in place for people that have gone into jail for whatever reason, to start working on driving down the number of people that return to jail, right? Because Erie County has a huge recidivism rate, just like everywhere. Like in America, we just have a large recidivism rate, right? Those people that commit crimes and go to jail, right, are the same people, when they get out, they reoffend. And a large part of that is because you have the probation and parole system, right, or the post-release supervision system that continues to supervise and catch and lock people up. Like, for instance, my brother, he didn't report for 3 or 4 days, back when he was out on parole before, and he was violated and put back in jail, right? So, like, you have things like that that are happening quite frequently.
So what do you say to, like, the skeptics who feel like the system is so inherently broken, and who look at you and look at this past year and how you were definitely at the forefront of the movement, and say, wow, Myles, now he wants to be a part of the system? So there's a kind of like a criticism.
Is that what people are saying?
Some people.
Okay, because I don't see that or understand that to be the case.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, if I was applying to be a sheriff deputy, yeah, I could see that. Now he's going to be part of the system, right? But as the sheriff, you're not actually a police officer. You don't go through police training. You only get the 40-hour sheriff course that takes you through. So you're still unbrainwashed and able to be a free thinking person that is in control of a huge part of the in control of the sheriff's department, essentially, which includes all the different services that we already went over. So, like, what do I say to that? I think that it's asinine to think that I'm going to try and be part of the system, because in reality, the platform that I've introduced and I wholly intend to stick to challenges the system so much. Right, you're talking about Carroll's Law, which is what provides accountability for police brutality. Right, so if a police officer sees police brutality happening in front of them, they're required now to step up and do something. Right, that's way new. Right for policing. Right now, you got to tell on your partner. Before, you got to cover it up for your partner. Now you got to tell on your partner. You got to tell when you see it. So that's revolutionary just in the thought process. And you can see how Buffalo's been resisting that along the way. Right, halt solitary confinement. Right, that goes against the system. Solitary confinement is what breaks people. Right, that's what keeps people in a desperate state. Right, it keeps people in a mentally decrepit state to the point where it's an institutionalized form of punishment. Right, so that breaks the spirit. Right, it adds to recidivism. It adds to mental health issues. Right, right. Women supervising women, again, like this is another thing, is like it's breaking status quo. It's breaking system specifically here. Right, because part of the system is the abuse. Right, 400 cases of assault and sexual assault in the Erie County Holding Center in 2019 that went unreported. Right, that went unreported. So that like not only did they not tell on, like not only is it happening in such large numbers, maybe from a few deputies, but there's the whole of the sheriff's department that's sitting there watching it and not even saying anything. That's true. Right, so it's like that just having women overseeing women again it's going against the system, and then this idea of further deprioritizing pot. You know what I mean? Like with the new legalization effort, DA Flynn is still trying to find new ways to continue to criminalize marijuana so that he can pull over black and brown people, have their cars searched, have their rights violated, hire a drug detection specialist to come look you in your eyes and tell you whether you're high or not. Like this is the move that we're going towards now. Right, so like deprioritizing pot entirely, like again, it's going against the system. It's breaking that, and continuing to call out the injustices that are occurring by name. You know what I mean? That's something that if you take a step back, you look at the system players. That's not something that they do. Right. You know what I mean? And it's because they've been muzzled as soon as they step into their roles and positions. Right, and that's because of how they got there.
Yeah, I respect that, and like a law. Like Carrier's Law, I'm glad you brought that up. It's wonderful revolutionary law, but without enforcement, it's just words on paper. It's just like you look at like tax evasion and how white collar criminals get away with like real crimes because those laws aren't being enforced on them. So without someone in the sheriff's office to uphold Carrier's Law, then it's really just.
So one of the, like, you guys know I'm progressive, right? One of the big pushes is like, legalize drugs, right? Like and. I agree with LEAD, right, which is the low enforcement of drugs, right, LEAD program. But like, where do you guys stand on drug enforcement or drug policy? Don't look at Marcus.
On my left and my right.
I don't know. Marcus, how do you feel about that? Like, what do you feel like should be done with the current situation on drug laws? And do you feel like they're used to target black and brown people?
I got pulled over a couple months ago, and they searched my car before even asking me for my license just because it smelled like weed. So, yeah.
Where'd you get pulled over at?
Bailey and Amherst, right before I hit the light.
A couple months ago?
Yep.
That's funny because Mayor Brown.
I was leaving skating.
Your boy, Mayor Brown, he said. Your boy. He said that the marijuana was no longer a probable cause with his police reform last year. So Buffalo police shouldn't have searched you a couple months ago based on the scent of marijuana.
Well, he doesn't. Unfortunately, he wasn't there to say, guys, y'all doing a bad job. That's no longer a probable cause. But it's a new penal law. I believe it's 221 now that that completely dismisses the smell as a reasonable
Yes, it does.
for charge.
Right, and
Well,
that's under the new
search, so-
marijuana laws. Is like, and this is what DA Flynn is working against right now. He objected to that part of the law, and he wrote all of your New York State Assembly peoples trying to get them to remove that stipulation in
Yeah,
the law.
he's not somebody I'm
Yeah,
voting for.
oh, you shouldn't. And somehow he keeps running unopposed. It's like, what's going on
I
here?
just want to throw that out there, but somebody should definitely run against him.
Yeah, no, I think we got another 3 years left for that. His election was just last November.
Man.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you say about like low-level drug enforcement?
Well, here's the deal. I think our whole perception of drugs and addiction is completely off and out of touch with reality. And I could say this because my wife's a social worker, drug addictions counselor. So she deals with people with severe drug issues on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, the punitive system that we have to deal with people with drug issues is not effective at all. You know, most of these people, you know, have dealt with a lot of trauma in their life and they need help. They need real compassionate help. And just like with humans in any other case, punishment hardly is a strong enough discouragement. People need encouragement. They need resources. They need help to better their life. And I feel like if we could just reimagine how we deal with people who are dealing with drug problems, then I think we would have a better society as a whole, because so many people are dealing with drug addiction and abuse. And in fact, the number one drug that's abused is alcohol, which is legal.
Yeah.
You know, and they need help just as much as someone who's dealing with heroin, just as much as someone who's dealing with any other substance. So I don't know how we can rethink it as a community, but I definitely think a first step is to lay off, criminalizing and jailing people who are using and trying to get them some help.
I know a lot of people that drunk drive. They don't ever get pulled over.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You should counsel them.
They,
Drinking and driving is not a good thing.
I do. I tell them
Quick
all
way
the
to get
time.
hurt.
I don't get in the car with them.
All right, that's good.
So
Take their keys too.
Yeah. That's a good one.
All right, so low-level drug enforcement. What's your position on that?
So
Are you for complete legalization of all drugs, or complete deprioritization, or just like
I am
Where are you
for
at?
complete decriminalizing people who use drugs,
Okay.
not people who sell them.
Yeah.
I feel like more of the effort should be pointed towards people who sell certain drugs. Obviously, I feel like when it comes
certain
to
drugs? So educated approach at it.
Yeah, like when it
Okay.
comes to marijuana or even like things like shrooms that are mostly
Organics.
not really that harmful.
Things that grow from the ground.
Yeah, like you smoke it or you use it and you basically just take a nap. Like it's mostly not harmful. I don't think people should be targeted or jailed for things like that.
So mushrooms are still on Schedule 1 drug for New York. So even though they removed marijuana, mushrooms are still Schedule 1, along with LSD and a lot of other psychedelic drugs as well.
Yeah.
So are you for like decrim psychedelics? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, and I'm definitely for decriminalizing psychedelics, especially since there are a lot of cases where they help people spiritually, mentally, and they help them get out of addiction with harsher drugs.
I've heard that argument, the psychedelic use for harsh drug addiction.
Right.
For people that are like on heroin or crystal meth and stuff like that, switching over to like mushrooms or other psychedelic based drugs to help them with, their addiction issues. Yeah, I haven't studied it. I've just heard about it a little bit. I think it was an interesting concept.
Tell me why I got this like Facebook advertisement the other day for psychedelic therapy. It's like 30-minute consultation, and we'll send you ketamine for psychedelic therapy, and it's just like,
What's ketamine?
So I don't
it's horse tranquilizer, right?
Oh,
think
there we
so.
go.
And I remember
So it's like morphine.
Yo, you gonna be tripping for real.
kind of, but like Lamar Odom, I don't know if y'all heard his story, but he is like a big supporter of ketamine because he says it helped him get out of his addiction, because even after he OD'd and almost died, he still used. But once he was introduced to ketamine and other different things, that's when he wasn't using hard drugs like heroin and crack cocaine.
Right.
So I'd rather you do that than OD and like hurt yourself, or even do things like drunk drive, or And a lot of people, I don't agree with driving while high either, to be
Course not.
honest.
Yeah.
On any drug, even if it's something that's like prescribed. So yeah,
And safe approach.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Here's the crazy thing with ketamine, though. It's like less stigmatized, whatever, because it's a pharmaceutical drug. But things like mushrooms and marijuana, which are more widely available, specifically to communities of color, have been heavily, harshly criminalized. And I mean, it's like let's not beat around the bush. The criminalization of low level drug offenses directly linked to the criminalization of minority communities,
Yeah.
keeping us down, that sort of thing. So
Right.
like honestly, I'm pro the legalization approach. Look, I don't want everybody and their mama using drugs, of course, but if you're gonna use it, what's the point in
Throwing someone in jail for it.
someone in jail, making it illegal, which bolsters the illegal trade, which is where the real criminal activity happens, is the underground. So
What do we do about gun violence? Here we go. Because this is everybody's big question. Is what do we do about gun violence? Because last year we had 65 homicides in the city of Buffalo. I think 5 were solved. This year we're on track, I think, to double that number almost. I think we're in the 40s somewhere, and we're in June alone. So what are we doing about this?
So for me, it's two things that pop in my head when I think about gun violence, specifically in Buffalo. One, I think it's important to like narrow down mostly where the guns are coming from, right? Because in New York State, we have like what people would consider harsh or like severe, tough
The most strict gun laws in the country in New York State, yeah.
So obviously people are getting these from other states like Ohio and things like that.
Right.
So I think that you specifically go to, because I know people get them from like gun shows and like all
straw
types
man.
of places. Yeah. And then they come in with them, and then like they're just running around with these illegal guns. So I think you just attack it from the source. That's one. And two, I feel like with gun violence and crime and violence anyway, usually people commit crimes because of poverty, usually. So I think you have to attack it from that approach.
Right. Social programs, community spending, education.
Education is a big one.
Okay.
A huge one for me. And mental health too.
Mental health.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like domestic violence.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure, we have to pay more attention
Because
to that.
how much of gun violence is not knowing how to properly resolve a conflict.
Right.
Like I saw a video of somebody getting shot, and this was over in the 14211 zip code, right? And the guy, they were just arguing. The one guy punched the other guy point blank. The other guy pulled his gun out and shot him in the chest. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm looking at this like you guys were friends 30 seconds ago, and now he's dead. So it's like, there's some issues here as far as like conflict resolution. Like, there should have been some other steps. But how do we teach people how to properly resolve those conflicts? Like, how do we have those conversations? Like, how do we then get people to put down the guns? And I believe education, community spending, social programs, things like that, I think definitely help. But I think, that's still, there's going to be a period of time through that adjustment period, right, where we don't see the benefits, of those things paying off as quickly as we would like to. Because I don't know, I feel like we're just at a point with violence where it's so bad because of so many years of oppression and systemic oppression and just poverty, and then unchecked mental health. Unchecked mental health is a generational issue, right? That's not something that you face like, Aaliyah's 22 years old and now all of a sudden you've got some type of post-traumatic stress disorder. No, that's been handed down from your parents, from their parents, from their parents, because of the stuff that they went through back when this country was being founded, through all the slavery and all of the extra BS that came after that. You know what I mean? So there's like we're not only dealing with the stress of this current world, but we're dealing with the stress that's kind of been passed down. And then I think that's like the biggest misconcept for a lot of people, because they're just like, you're not dealing with slavery anymore, right? You got the right to vote. Right, you can go anywhere you want, eat anywhere you want, but it's not realizing that we're still dealing with the trauma that even happened to us, right, and our parents and our grandparents and then our great grandparents, So it's like I think it's a lot bigger than what we like to think. But but I think mental health for sure. You're gonna say something? No.
Well, I mean, other states got programs in place for gun violence as far as like moving guns state to state. They got lead detectors and like heat seekers. Buffalo is actually starting to pop up with heat seekers. So like if it's a shooting in the area, it'll set off a signal so the cops already know what area to go to instead of waiting for a phone call.
I'm just gonna say because I don't see them responding any faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not responding any faster. I want to say a couple weeks ago, it was a shooting on Genesee, and it took the cops about 15 minutes to come. And then while the cops are over there, more shooting is going on as well. So it's no regard for the cops.
So it's just, yeah. And then it's like, you know, you hearing the police talk, they're saying things like, oh, well, with bail reform, people won't stay in jail. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Bail reform didn't make it, you know, bail free for violent crimes. You know what I mean? But they're using these as excuses not to actively do their jobs. And it's like, and then I've heard other things. It's like, well, with everybody protesting the police, would you expect them to do their job? Yeah. I would expect them to still do their job. I would think that would be the adult thing to do.
They should improve the way they do their job.
They should improve it. Like, you know, protesting is constructive criticism. You know what I mean? And that's really what it is, because we know that us protesting does not result in police getting fired. You know what I mean? Like, when have we ever protested and a police officer got fired in Buffalo?
Yeah, not here. No, not here.
Not here, right. So it's like, you know, it's really just a really, like, loud form of constructive criticism in addition to the other forms and everything else that we submit in response to police brutality and the investigations that kind of go away, right? But, I don't know. That's you know, a big issue that a lot of people say is, like, you know, when we're talking about things like police brutality, we're talking about things like criminal justice reform, we're talking about things, not even reform, criminal justice reconstruction. All right, because that like reform, like you look at the current state of the Erie County jails, you're like, whoa, reform? Where do we start? Right, and it's like, you know, reconstruction. All right, and that's really what it is we have to rebuild the system and rebuild the way we actually think about it. But I don't even know where that thought was going. But, you know, that's just where we are currently, you know. Oh, yeah, why aren't you focusing on this? Why aren't you focusing on that? And quite honestly, like, when you look at the state of our county, there are so many things that we should be focusing on. You know what I mean? Missing persons. Right? You know, like when Sanaya Dennis was missing, you know, one of the things that I did is I called the sheriff's department and I asked them and I said, can I get a list of all the missing people in Erie County? They don't have one.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's no list of missing persons even in Erie County. So it just shows you, like, how serious it isn't for them. You know, what a priority it's not. Right, 5 out of 65 homicides solved in the city of Buffalo. Right, no centralized list of missing persons, and then we have investigation after investigation after investigation that either doesn't happen, right, of a missing person, or is long delayed or botched, right. And that's kind of like the state of what we're dealing with as far as that goes. And then you look at the jails, right, and then that's where we have to focus our time, because that's where the majority of the sheriff's budget is. You know,
it's almost like the police has been designed not to help people, but to keep people down. I mean,
is that what you gathered from that?
Yeah, that's 5 out of 65 homicides solved.
So you live in Amherst. What's your experience with the police in Amherst?
I mean, getting pulled over for going 3 over the speed limit. Look, Amherst.
Have you ever had to call the police in Amherst?
Ever had to call? I mean, yeah, I've had to call them a couple weeks ago because I got in a car accident. Unfortunately. What has my experience been with the police in Amherst? It's a complicated situation. I mean, I have a complicated relationship with law enforcement in general. A little bit of a mistrust because of my experiences with Border Patrol and how they treat me when I come home.
Because of the Arab name of yours?
Yeah.
Muhammad Akram?
Muhammad Akram. Oh, okay. This guy. What you up to? Why are you coming? Why are you a citizen of this country to begin with? What is your agenda?
What were you doing in Canada, sir?
I was getting poutine. Look, Amherst, okay, I feel like, I'm going to be honest. I feel like Amherst is a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Because we are safer. So
right.
There is generally less hostility, maybe, in a general police interaction, have to keep in mind I'm white passing. So I get the benefit of the doubt until I present my card. I've been taken out of the car. I've been arrested. Yeah, I'm not an angel. But the one time I was arrested, it was by BPD, and they kicked me and they like threw me around, and then I told them, please, I'm just a little bit of weed, leave me alone, and they're like, nah, you going in. So it's very different. Amherst cops, when I got pulled over one time with some weed, they were more willing to look the other way, and just as long as I was honest about how much I had, what was in the car, they're like, all right, be safe, go home, don't do it again, sort of thing.
So let me ask you, how would you feel about a sheriff who was representing who came from Cheektowaga Police? How would you feel about that?
A little nervous.
No.
Sheriff from Cheektowaga?
Nope.
You're not gonna do that?
No, we're not.
No?
Nah, we're not doing the sheriff from Cheektowaga.
That's your boy Brian Gold.
Brian Gold can stay right where he at. That ain't my boy.
What's the issue with Cheektowaga Police?
Well, there's not one white cop. I mean, my bad. There's not one black cop to start. So their whole police system is white cops. And they love pulling over colors. Day before my prom, I got pulled out my car by Cheektowaga Police at gunpoint.
At gunpoint?
Gunpoint, middle of the street.
What was the charge?
No charge. I never got arrested.
Never got arrested?
Never got arrested.
They just felt uncomfortable.
Man, they chased me down. They felt uncomfortable. They pulled up like 7 cars deep. So we're not even gonna do Cheektowaga cops.
Oh, okay. And then it's like it's crazy to me, and I brought Cheektowaga cops up for because Brian Gold is from Cheektowaga, right? And it's crazy to me because the Democrats endorsed Brian Gold, but he's been suspended for police brutality himself.
I believe it. Cheektowaga cops.
Yes, this is news to you?
Yes.
Okay, he's been suspended for police brutality himself.
And he's our poster boy?
He is the poster boy from the Democratic Party. This is who they iced out all the black candidates to push this guy forward.
Okay, I don't get how the establishment can miss the mark on this. Like, what the vibe is right now. You know what we want to see, the change we want to see. So how could you endorse a candidate like that? That's just wild to me. That's so out of touch. Do they even care about us?
No.
that is the question. Do they even care? And then so Cheektowaga, that's a no for a Cheektowaga cop for sheriff.
That's a strong no.
Do you think that he would be able to at least bring some sense of stability to the sheriff's department?
No. I feel like the urban community would be in more danger.
In more danger, right? Because now we just have a Democrat doing the same thing that Sheriff Howard was doing. So now
they probably worse.
All right.
Yeah, possibly worse because now you have the backing of the Democrats, and no, definitely not. With me, I feel like Cheektowaga police out of all of Erie County are the worst, especially if you're black or brown.
The worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
At least in my experience, like every time I get pulled over, it's Cheektowaga or Tonawanda.
Mine's Cheektowaga or Amherst.
Yeah. I got pulled over a couple times in Buffalo, but it's usually like they check my license, and similar to you, my middle name is Muhammad. So they
Aliyah Muhammad. What's going on here?
What you doing here? So yeah, but then eventually it's like you were doing 5 over or something small, so they just pretty much let me go. Cheektowaga, on the other hand, they'll literally try to find something. They'll let me go, but I'll be sitting there forever for them to look for something, and they'll ask me dumb questions. They gotta run your name, run
your daddy's name,
whose car is this? I told you multiple times, it's mine. I paid a bill. It's definitely mine.
Right.
So. Yeah, Cheektowaga cops, no.
That's always the funniest question. I mean, when they pull me over, who's this car registered to? Didn't you read my plate?
That's what I'm saying. Why are you asking me stupid questions?
You got my license, you read my plate, maybe I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
Just an unusual question. All right, so what about a Buffalo police officer? Now, if we were to say, okay, let's put a Buffalo police officer at the head of the Erie County Sheriff's Department.
For me, I have a big distrust with cops. Not because I've had any super bad personal experiences, but just because I know what it is. So I don't trust cops to be a former cop, to be in that high of a leadership position. I really don't care
Okay.
who you are unless you're Carrie Horn. Like,
Unless you carry a horn, right?
Yeah, like-
That was really the push. And she told me she was considering running for sheriff too, and I was like, well, if you would have told me, I'd have stepped down.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have been like, yo, let me be your undersheriff or something. Like, I'll help you with policy. I'll get out here and push your platform. It does, like, if she would have ran, carry a horn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all day long, I would have had no issue with that. You know,
Right.
because I know that she would stick to her guns. Right, and not guns, right? The Western New York Peace Center doesn't like when I say that, but I just had a conversation with Vicky the other day. It's just like,
We need a new word.
right. Right, but like you need somebody that's actually going to stand for something, right? And that's the issue is like when you have police brutality going on down at the jail, right? And you talk to jail management about that, they go check on it, right? And it's like, you know, jail management isn't there daily. You know, they're not in the cells or, you know, in the units with them supervising their guards and deputies, right? So what happens is they get beat up by the deputies. Jail management interviews them, right? They lie to the jail management because they don't want to be targeted by the deputies when they go back into their segregation unit, right? So it just kind of perpetuates, and it's like you can't even explain that to management because it kind of just, you know, blows over. And it's like that's the same type of experience I feel you're going to get with a police officer. Right. And whether they're a Buffalo cop, a Cheektowaga cop, an Amherst cop, they're like programmed to be pro-system.
Right, exactly.
Right. And it's like no matter who you talk to as far as police go, it's like, you know, I read the survey results from the Erie County Sheriff's Department, right? And I was kind of not depressed, but disappointed in the whole survey that they did, right? Because it came from the Erie County Sheriff's Reform Task Force that was set up by Mark Poloncarz, right? So they sent out the survey, and it's like only 30. I think it was like 36 of the deputies took the actual survey. Mind you, there's 180 of them, so it's like, you know, why couldn't you just have all 180 of them take the survey for one? Because it's like, I think this is pretty important. Right, the whole reason why we have this reform task force is because of the death of George Floyd and Andrew Cuomo using that as a means to say let's reform policing. Right, so okay, we're going to start with just 30 deputies taking this survey, but like the things in the survey, like they really opened my eyes. Like one of them was like, you know, do you feel comfortable reporting issues of or speaking out against, you know, the other deputies? I'm paraphrasing, of course, but if you see issues happening with other deputies, do you feel comfortable? And it's like 2 out of them said no, and then a third one said unsure. And it's like, okay, so I'm thinking like 3 out of 36. That's like what? Like you break it down into a percentage. It's you're close to like, you know, a decent double-digit percentage of deputies that don't feel comfortable coming forward. Right, and it's like, you know, that minority of deputies is probably representative of the bigger issue, you know, that exists within the department as a whole.
Well, I mean, you got to also count the fact that majority of people didn't even answer that.
Yeah.
So how many of them don't even care? Like,
Right.
it's probably a bigger number.
Or are scared to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, it's even like that's even worse. That's like a negative. It's like not only would I not even rat out someone who's done something wrong, I'm not even going to participate in the conversation on how to make this a better system.
I'm gonna just mark not sure. Just
Right, that's where you're at. It's like, and then you talk to them about it. It's like, well, what do you want me to come forward? My job is on the line, and it's like, oh my god. So you're picking money over morals, and it's like, you know, I get it. Right, we live in a capitalist society, right, and that's kind of like, you know, how it's set up. It's like you get money or you fail. So it's like, and no matter how good of a person you were, and this is what happened to Carrie O'Horn, right? Is like, you know, she was faced with the opportunities. She's like, oh, keep my job or do the right thing, right? And she's like, do the right thing, and then she's like abused and disgraced by the entire police force and the political community.
Just
you know
like
what I mean?
gang.
It's just like a gang. It's just like a gang, and that's really the point of it all. Is like if you speak out. Now you're a cop, so you have trust issues with the community, right? Because now, you know, the community and police aren't necessarily cohesive, right? But if you speak out against those police officers, now you're an outcast from those police officers. So it's like it leaves you in like this precarious or really just a really bad situation. So it's like we need protections in place for people like Carrie O'Horn,
right,
to come forward and not spend, you know, 14 years fighting for their damn pension.
Yeah, we need a citizen in charge.
A citizen.
Yeah.
All right. Are you following your Amherst elections at all?
Not
He said, I
particularly.
don't give
I'm here for the sheriff. I need a new sheriff in town.
Right.
That's what I need. But no, I mean, I do plan on doing a little bit of my homework before I vote later this week. So I got a bit of time to figure that all out. Any endorsements?
No. No. You got town justices running in Amherst.
Yeah,
you don't
I'll
need
take
a
a
law
closer
degree to
look.
be a town justice.
I'll take a closer look.
That's interesting. But I think that we definitely should pay attention to the legislators. But I don't think too many legislators are being primaried outside of Howard Johnson. Like, I know April
Yeah.
Baskin is running unopposed.
I'm pretty sure he's the only one.
He's the only one.
Yeah.
Right, and he doesn't seem too concerned about that either.
I'd say a little bit. From what I've seen, and I've definitely heard like rumblings of some harassment there. So he
Harassment?
Yeah. But I
Like
mean,
trying to bully votes?
I guess you could say so.
Ooh,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did go like canvassing in the on Dodge Street in Southampton and stuff like that the other day, and I saw Howard Johnson's little flyer stuck in all the doors. Like he's making it everywhere. I also saw Byron Brown's everywhere too. So it's like even though he's not out in the community on a regular basis,
His people are.
He's sending people out there to, and then also when we had there was the Souls to the Polls event. You were at Souls to the Polls.
No, I was out of town.
You were out of town?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Byron Brown has like this, he's got this big old truck. It's like, it looks like a U-Haul, right? And it's got like a digital screen on it. And he just like had it parked across the street from the Souls to the Polls location. And just like, spewing out gray smoke from the back of it.
What an image. Wow.
It looked like something like mechanical from like a horror movie. You know what I mean? Just like, what's going on here? Yeah. And it's like, I just feel like there's a complete lack of effort in even getting, educating our community on the issues and actually encouraging people to come out and vote. I feel like there's a complete lack of emphasis on that. You know what I mean? Even the Buffalo News said with early voting that the turnout was abysmal. You know what I mean? We had the Souls to the Polls, this huge party. You know what I mean? I noticed that most of the people that voted that day were people that were part of the actual program. You had a few actual people, a few people were coming in regularly to go vote, but I didn't really see huge turnouts, no lines. You know what I mean? It's like either people are waiting until the 22nd or people are just not excited, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm hoping that people are just waiting till the 22nd, because I'm one of those people who's gonna wait till the 22nd, and most of the people that I've talked to are waiting. So there is some hope there.
Yeah. So do you talk to your friends about the election and who they're voting for and stuff like that?
Yes. Because I'm big on giving people the information, even if I know they're probably not going to vote for the same person that I'm going to vote for. I feel like we should all still have the information. And plus, it's really cool to see like what other people think, like how other people feel when it comes to voting in certain candidates, because I feel like you learn a lot with that.
I'm not gonna. I was not expecting Marcus to say that he was voting for Byron Brown.
I wasn't either, to be honest.
Like, it really did catch me off guard. But I'm happy you said that. I'm not happy you voting for him. I'm happy you said that because it gives me like a new perspective. It's like, okay, all right, he didn't completely lose. And that was a thought going into this, is that like, Byron Brown is just easy to beat as far as a mayoral candidate. And I know that a lot of people were thinking that, you know what I mean? And it's like, he's refusing to debate. Like, he's not debating the two women that are going against him, India Walton and LaCandace Durham. He won't debate them, which I think is a sign of weakness, personally. Like, I mean, even if you're going to win, what is the problem in having a discussion about the community issues?
Do you want to debate two females?
I was just about to say, I wouldn't say use the term female, but I would say for him, it may not look good to people to have a debate with two black women. And I don't, really? I honestly don't know if that's something that I really want to see. Like, I want to see all three of them in the same room, but not necessarily in debate form.
What would you like to see then?
A forum.
Okay, a forum. Like the sheriff's joint?
Yes.
Okay, but I wanted to actually respond to their responses at the forum, because that was
know. I could tell. But I'm saying, like, if you ask 3 people the same exact question, I feel like it's very similar to a debate.
Okay.
Because you know how they feel on the issue, and 9 times out of 10 they're not going to say the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you
So
get
the
to know the
information
candidate
without the bullets. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
wish he would have showed up to a forum, but like me as a black woman, I'm not trying to see 2 black women up there debating a black man. Like I don't think, I'm sorry, I just feel like we don't necessarily need that. Like I hate to be like whatever, but
Wow,
it's just something I just don't
Turn into a
necessarily want to
little
see.
reality TV show.
Yeah, and
Because you
it's
don't want to see them
like,
throwing shots at each other.
yeah,
That's what
we
you
don't
wanna
need
miss,
that.
but- okay.
Yeah, exactly. We really don't need that at all. I feel like I would prefer a forum.
Okay.
And in Brown's defense, it would come off sexist.
Defending
Like
him too?
no matter what he would say to them, it would just come off sexist. Like something he would say to a guy, it just wouldn't seem right saying it to
Not
a
necessarily.
No.
Women can hold their own. They
I
can-
think it depends on who you speak to. So like most of the people who would even watch the debate are already informed voters.
They're going to be voting anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's their people who are informed voters are usually more equal when it comes to, at least from what I've see, more equal when it comes to like gender, so
Right.
I don't know, at least it wouldn't come off that way for me, because like I know it's politics, like I know what
I
it
looked at it
is.
like he was just uninterested or unwilling to discuss the issues of the community. Like, and I do have a problem with him not debating, and it's like, you know, and I don't have a leg in the mayor's race, but like I feel like as far as like voting goes, like I spend a lot of time in the city. I do a lot of my work in the city, like as far as like my home inspection business and stuff. So it, you know, with him not being willing to address the issues that exist within like policing and housing and community spending and stuff like that, is like, you know, where have you been on these issues? Like I want to see him respond to those, you know, and I feel like a debate, a forum, something like, you know, completely icing them throughout the primary, knowing that the primary is what essentially determines our election for the city of Buffalo, is like, you know, it's just so weak.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like I said, I would have definitely appreciated if he showed up to a forum, because like people want to hear from you.
Right.
Why not? You know.
Right. And it's like, I know, even going on knocking on doors and stuff like that, it's like, oh, you know, people asking me, are you with Mayor Brown? I'm like, no. It's like, okay. and then the conversation's okay.
Yeah.
Right. But if, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's one of those weird situations. Like, not weird, but it's just, I wish it would be better.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because it's not like we don't have options. We do.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those opportunities. And that to me is, again, like another form of voter suppression.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, you know, if he was to come out and do the debate with the other 2 candidates, then it would bring in a lot of numbers. Like people, oh, Mayor Brown's going to debate, right? It would be big numbers, and then like as a voter pool, we'd be able to sit and see, okay, these are the issues that we care about, right? These are the responses on those issues. Now you feel more empowered as a voter, so you're going to go out there and exercise your vote. Like if we don't have that forum and that discussion going on, like who has the interest to even exercise their vote, because they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't want to be mayor anymore, though. Thought about that too.
Why run again, bro? 16 years is too long.
Man, so
Anything,
Fifth term?
it's a strategy.
It is a
because
strategy.
If you don't
100%.
debate them, the people who know Mayor Brown and don't know them will continue to not know them.
Silence.
Yeah, so
Silence.
it's definitely a strategy.
So yeah, that makes sense too. He doesn't want to bring light to the competition
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, I could see that. But I feel like it makes it harder for someone like me who doesn't really know, is not for sure who they're going to vote for when it comes
Right.
to mayor. Because I have like things I could look at when it comes to the difference between India and LaCandice, right? Because they've been on forums together. They've been in spaces together.
They came to your event together.
Right, exactly, and been asked the same questions in the same room. But I don't have his side of it.
Right.
So it's like, what am I to do?
It's one of those things where, like, in the game of politics, it's ultimately the public who loses. Like, it would be a public benefit to everyone for there to be a mayoral debate.
Mm-hmm.
We would see, you know, or a forum, anything where we see the candidates and we see their positions. So yeah, it does suck that he didn't do it, but it's like a power move on his part. I mean, he is the establishment. He has become, in some ways, synonymous with the city of Buffalo, being the mayor for what, 15 years?
It's 16, his
16?
fourth term, yeah.
So
if he gets reelected, I think he's going to be the longest serving mayor in the city of Buffalo. It's like, come on.
Yeah, no. So which makes me wonder, I mean, to your point, I respect your position in support of him, but like, as someone who wants to see change, how would reelecting him bring about change? It seems like if there is a status quo, it is Byron Brown.
Oh, well, change is starting to happen if you look around the city of Buffalo. But if you bring in a new mayor now, once change is already happening, now the change is going to stop. And now you got a new person's idea of what they feel like is most important now in the city to get fixed. So everything that was already getting changed.
They're going to lose focus
right.
is on those issues.
Streets are now getting fixed.
That's election
there's
season,
a whole lot of streets getting fixed.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with it being election season and streets is getting fixed. I'm happy.
Okay. So he was revving up for 16 years, and now he's
all right.
He's
So we got like a little under a minute left. We can go for a little bit longer. So like I don't know what are like the three biggest issues that you have that are helping you to decide whether or not or who you're voting for.
Okay. Housing, like affordable housing, because I want to get out of my parents' home and be able to
be affordable.
Yeah, and I want it to be. It has to be affordable in order for me to do it.
Okay.
I'd say, like you said, gun violence is something that I'm because I feel like with gun violence and like crime in general in Buffalo it's kind of mostly stayed the same. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out like which candidate would make the most change.
Keep going.
Okay, cool. And then police brutality and police accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
It's a tough question for me to answer because if I were to vote my interests as a filmmaker, Mayor Brown has been phenomenal to the film community. So for me, honestly, it's just listening. I mean, so many times we act out of self-interest. My man Richard, who's hosting us here, said something really powerful about the importance of altruism. And for me, I'm Muslim, but altruism is the true religion. So I want to listen to my community, and our community is definitely hurting, especially when it comes to issues of police brutality, inequality, the east side of Buffalo being horribly neglected. And that is one thing that the mayor has not paid a lot of attention to. So I want to see some change on that front. And I want to see a new sheriff in town. And I think I'm looking right at him.
All right, so you need engagement is big for you. And a new sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For sure.
What about you? What's up with you? Like, what are the issues that are at the top of your list?
I mean,
this is your first time voting, so this is big. You about to walk in there and see a whole bunch of names, right?
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking at the mayor's position as far as the changes in community crime rate. I love Mayor Brown in the crime rate. It's a little rocky, but it is what it is. And as far as sheriffs, definitely need a new sheriff in town because the holding center and the other facilities is Alden, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Alden is actually understaffed with inmates, if I'm not mistaken as well. So a facility needs to either get shut down or upgraded to accommodate all the inmates. Buffalo isn't a big place.
So you want to see one of these facilities shut down?
Yeah.
Because we have space for 1,500 between the two facilities, but we only have about 650 people in jail.
Oh, wow.
Right, so we are over double capacity. Right, so if you do the numbers, we have to shut one down, right? Or we should be.
That's what would happen if this was corporate or something like,
Right.
You shut an office down, you improve the one that's being used.
You could definitely upgrade the holding center. There's even floors that's not being used, so why not make better space?
Right. Okay. So I think community spending is one of the things at the top of my list. So as far as, that was kind of what the entire year was about last year. Police brutality, like defund the police, refund the community. Like that was everybody's, cry is that we need to be spending more on the community. So community spending is huge on the list. I think that community safety, right? And re-envisioning safety, I think, is another thing that should be at the top of the list, even with your mayoral race, because like the mayor has a lot of power over policing and community safety as well. And then the other one I think is just protecting people's rights, right? And that comes with like accountability, with housing. I think housing should be considered a right. You know, food should be considered a right.
There's a lot of affordable housings popping up. Like they're
I'm not so much of a fan of affordable housing, like, you know, rental style.
Well,
I'm more of
income-based.
my thought is more so on affordable home ownership, and then we should put more of an emphasis on that because that's where we've kind of been kept back. Is like, you know, the number one access to wealth in America is through a home. That's how people start businesses. That's how people send their kids to college. That's how, you know, people use that to buy another home is through accessing the wealth in their home, right? And you don't get that with rentals, right? So even if you have like 30% of your income is going towards rent, you're not building wealth. But if 30% of your income was going towards a mortgage, or 30% of your income was going towards, you know, owning a home, then you'd be establishing wealth, and it's not just tossing money down the drain. I think affordable home ownership is a huge one, and I don't hear any candidates talking about affordable home ownership, and that to me is that's a big one, and I think that's more important than affordable housing. Yeah, but those are my issues. But like, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Please, if you can get out there and inform your friends about the election that's going on, I think that's extremely important as well. I know that Akram is picking up some signs today to go drop off, like, you know, and we have the sheriff's race coming up, and like I'm involved in the sheriff's race, so like I got my own personal stake in this, and like I get out and vote, right? Because that's not what's happening today. We're not voting, and then that is a problem, and that's why we're stuck in the same situation over and over again. We get stuck with this incremental baby steps as far as solving our problems. Right, because we have people in our community that go for, you know, common council, you know, county legislator, like these positions that don't necessarily have any control over our own real like community issues. Right, the positions that control our own communities the most are mayor, district attorney, judge, and sheriff. Right, these are the ones that are important. These are the executive roles in our community that have a lot of say over how we're living our lives. So like that's big, right? We have mayor, judges, and sheriff coming up this year, right? We had DA was last year. So in our community, you have to get out in the primary and actually vote, which is going on right now. So that's my big message for today. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And as always, well, we don't really have a regular show, so there's no as always, but salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Peace.
All right.
You are off the air.
We gotta pray, Asr.